It's Atlantic hurricane season once again, and it looks like the season's about to kick off. We're monitoring 91L and the impacts it's set to deliver. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for June 2nd. Well, we are back to the screen of no tropical cyclones active after Agatha's dissipation, but that screen is not going to be staying that way. Looks like we have another looming tropical storm to be forming soon in the Atlantic. We're up to 27 storms so far this year, 92 is the average for the worldwide season. Going into the Atlantic, it's day 2 of the season now, with Invest 91L looking to kick the season off with an 80% chance of formation. Could pose a threat to the southern Florida as well as the western Bahamas, which have already seen rain. Bahamas noting that they could be seeing tropical storm watches issued soon. There's also another area of interest, the east of Bahamas, with a 10% chance of formation as well. In the eastern Pacific, it's day 19, and there is nothing expected in the next 5 days. In the aftermath of Agatha, it's looking like we're going to be seeing a pretty quiet pattern for the Pacific for the next several weeks here, so we could not be seeing the B name until probably the second half of June. In the Western Pacific, it is similarly dead here. We had to invest 93W, but that never did have a chance of formation, and they finally took it off after realizing that there was finally no chance of formation. Did bring some heavy rain to the Philippines, however. Looking at the North Indian Ocean, there is nothing active here as well. We are after the first peak of the season, which means this is literally no surprise that we are seeing nothing. We're probably not going to be seeing much of anything until the second half of fall, so October into November is probably when we're going to be seeing much of our activity again. Here is the Atlantic satellite imagery, and you can see Invest 91L getting itself together to the south of Cuba. You can also see an extratropical low that finally got itself together to the northeast of the Azores, and another extratropical low that's getting developed just to the north of Newfoundland here. So quite a bit going on in terms of that scenery. In the Eastern Pacific, it's looking pretty quiet. In the aftermath of Agatha's dissipation, you can see the Central American gyre that's been keeping the areas near Central America a mess, but to the west of that, there's really nothing going on. And definitely anything that's going to be indicative of cyclone development is practically next to zero. So that basin will definitely be staying dead for the days to come. Looking at the Western Pacific, you can see what's going on here. What is left of 93W is near dissipation at this point to the northwest of the Philippines. And then, of course, there's a mass of clouds to the southeast of the Mariana Islands. Probably not going to become anything, but we'll keep it monitored just in case it tries to do anything funny. Other than that, nothing expected next week here in what's been pretty quiet spring so far. In the North Indian Ocean, you can see what's going on. Monsoonal mess trying to get itself organized in the Bay of Bengal, but of course it's a monsoonal mess for a reason. Raven Sea looking dry. And then of course you can see Invest 91L here. It's starting to get into the developing stages of tropical cyclone formation. Is why the National Hurricane Center now had the same 2 and 5 day formation chances. It's definitely going to be a messy storm. But the significant aspect of this is going to be the rainfall. Southern Florida as well as Cuba and Bahamas could see some rain, up to 6 to 8 inches of it. In the Eastern Pacific, the sea surface temperatures are cooler. In the wake of Agatha, you can kind of see a little bit of a cool spell that was left behind by the stalling it did there. A little divot where it's down to 27. The Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean's around 27 to 28. Same could be said for the main development region. Western Atlantic is looking to be similar. So the temperatures are alright for 91L here. Not perfect, but they're definitely good enough. And the subtropics are looking around 25 to 26. In the North Indian Ocean, it's around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius throughout much of the bays, in some areas that are only 28. But regardless, it's not going to be anything that's going to be using that environment, given the fact that the conditions are just now unsuitable for any cyclones to develop. Philippines are looking to be around 29 to 30. More of those 30 degrees Celsius water starting to show up across more of the main development region in the Western Pacific. And then of course the Southern Hemisphere, we're looking at those temperatures remaining around 26 to 27, although those temperatures have been slowly cooling as we are now past the ending of the Southern Hemisphere season. Looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies, you can of course see the La Nina that we've been dealing with for quite some time now. The entire western coast of North America is looking to be below average all the way south through Baja California. Same for South America, a lot of that coast is below average as well. Western Pacific is looking above average, and the Arabian Sea is also looking above average. On this day in 2007, we really didn't have much going on. Not really usually that much that goes on this date, but June 2nd, 2007, we had Barbara, which was peaking as a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. However, it was also moving a little bit oddly, moving to the east and the northeast, and would eventually make landfall. And it seems to be a trend with all the TWBs that I do. There's always a storm that's about to make landfall in Mexico, and I'm not sure why that ends up being the case for me. But of course, you can find more of our On This Day products powered by Cyclone History. Their Twitter is on the bottom bar below. That brings us over to the next names. In the Atlantic, the next name is Alex. We could be getting that soon, followed by Bonnie. The Eastern Pacific, we're looking out for Bloss and Celia. And in the Central Pacific, while there may be word that Hone is coming soon, any speculation of that can be considered objection hearsay. Moving on over into the Western Pacific, the next name is Chaba, followed by Irie. And in the North Indian Ocean, the next two names here are Citrang, followed by Mandus, two names we're probably not going to be seeing for quite some time now that the first peak of the season in there is over. Going on over to the Southern Hemisphere, the next name on the Australian region list is Darian. In the Southwestern Indian Ocean list, we got Lama, of course the name expired at the end of the month. And South Pacific, we're looking out for Hallie. We'll be back for another Tropical Weather Bulletin tomorrow night.